Well, I think sometimes you're too young to be really scared, but yes, it was. It was scary because there was a lot of responsibility because you go from getting a regular paycheck with benefits.
Right.
And all of a sudden, you don't have any benefits. You have to make the benefits. And, you know, unlike other businesses where you might have a car and fuel, we didn't have any of that. And we didn't get a paycheck unless we performed. And there was a few times where it was a little dicey, but honestly, most of the time we hit the ground running.
Welcome to the WealthBuilders Podcast. I'm so glad that you took time to join us today, and I am here with my good friend, Frank Pulley.
Hey, everybody. Good to be here. Thanks for joining us today.
You know, you've had, Frank, you've been on the podcast, so you've definitely had Frank in your listening on the podcast before. And today we're actually going to be talking about something that's business related, like scaling up your business. And Frank, we all know that you're this amazing real estate guy, along with your beautiful wife, Becky.
Thank you.
But not everybody knows about this like pre-real estate life of business.
Yeah, I run a water sports and travel business along with my wife and another couple for 22 years. And we did extremely well with that. As a matter of fact, the only reason I got out of it wasn't because of the money, it was because of the time commitment, and it just didn't seem to get any better over the years. So real estate seemed a great way out, but it was a great business.
Yeah, and I really want to unpack that a bit because you and Becky, your wife, you've worked together. Yeah. Could I say all your professional life or most of it? Because you were in grocery stores too, right?
Yeah. We were in management at Kroger stores, but different stores.
Got it.
But no, we've always been able to work together. That's something that not everybody can do.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we actually kind of like each other. So, in our other business, we were in different departments, but in the real estate business, we each picked what was our strengths and kind of went with that.
Wow, that's so good. And I think too, anytime that you've got a business, and I want you to share with us about the scuba diving business. I'm not sure that, you know, to me, it's like, do you just go to a store? Although I hear about all these amazing trips that you guys go on to. Just give us a little bit of background, and then we're going to move into just learning about how you got it scaled. 22 years is no small feat with the business. So give us a little history.
Well, the first thing people ask is, scuba diving in Colorado, you must have gone broke, but we didn't. It's people want to travel in Colorado. They're very active. As a matter of fact, it's like the number 8 state in just sheer numbers of scuba divers, and it's the number 1 per capita. People like to travel, and although we did well on our equipment sales and education, we did very well in our travel. I mean, we did a lot of money with Apple Vacations, Sandals. We booked our own trips too for people, group trips.
Wow.
So yeah, we did pretty well. And we started out, we actually bought the business from a guy who had the business in his garage for a long time.
In his garage.
And he moved out to a storefront and didn't have the business sense he needed to. And so our partners and us decided that we would approach him. We were tired of working for the grocery stores. And we were able to buy it owner financing, although we didn't know anything about it at that time, and it worked out really well.
Do you know, we do coaching together. We do both real estate and business coaching, and we talk to a lot of people, businesses. I'm surprised how many businesses are available or how many people sell with owner financing.
Oh, yeah.
And what did that do for you? Like, could you have financed it with a typical bank, or like, did that really get you in the door?
Initially, no. And the reason is because the business didn't have enough of a new history to be able to do that. So it was a win-win situation. It helped the gentleman, Ernie, who we bought the business from. He stayed in for a couple of years. we ended up paying him off pretty much. But then we went ahead after he left, and we got a bank loan and finished off the rest and actually improved the store a little bit.
Wow, that's cool. So just take me back to with Becky. I wish Becky was here. Y'all have to meet her. She's the sweetest. She comes to our events.
She does.
You know, the workshops and things, you can meet her. If I could just share a little bit too, something personal about Frank, which is great. We had such a great time. You and Bill Broncheck are in a band.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, called
Classic Vinyl.
And let me tell you, you should see this guy and the guitar and the harmonica.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
And then Bill Broncheck is just amazing on the guitar. So we went to a restaurant called the Metropolitan where you guys were playing. And it was so sweet because Becky was there with your whole family. And it just gave me a little glimpse, you know, into you guys' life and how fun. So all the way along, not only were you doing businesses, but then you were playing in that band.
We gotta have fun. We don't do that for the money, that part. It's just a lot of fun.
And I was telling you guys, I want to play backup. I want to
We need to, next time we get something, I'll let you know, and we can come up with a song. And David says you have an incredible voice, so.
Well, you know, this tells you too, like we love being around each other.
Yes,
this WealthBuilders family. And did you ever have that dream? Like, I always wanted to be in a band, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yep.
So stay tuned. We'll tell you more about that.
We will. More to come.
Yeah, more to come. But I just thought it was really cool because Becky was there. You guys work together. She comes to the workshops.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, was this 30 years ago when you guys purchased the business? Like, give us a timeline.
It was 1984 when we purchased the scuba diving store.
Wow, so
and
40
we ran
years
it.
ago.
Yeah, we ran it until we sold it to our partners in 2006 on June 8th, 2006 at 2:20 in the afternoon. Not that I remember. No, but it's been great because we've had dinner with our partners and they've done quite well. They've
so
actually,
great.
We tried for years to purchase the building we were in and couldn't. But they were able to do that after they moved to a different location and were able to, again, scale the business by using real estate, which was great.
That is so great. So this was 40 years ago that you guys first purchased, if I'm right.
Yeah.
So you guys were very young.
We were.
I think a lot of people listening are just wondering, how do you get into a business? You've already given them one clue about owner financing.
Yep.
Did you have experience in scuba diving? Was it an interest of yours?
No, I mean, my partner Scott and I had been certified since the early 70s, and we were both actually instructor rated. Wow. So that made it a lot easier. But I also give I'll have to give credit to the Kroger stores called King Supers here in Denver. Yeah. Becky and I were both in management, and we learned a lot about customer service. Their customer service isn't as good as it used to be, but it was great back then, and we learned a lot. And that's what we took to our scuba business.
So it sounds like it was a passion of yours because you were certified. So obviously you like to dive. Oh yeah. And then you had gained business knowledge through Kroger, which is very helpful.
Yes,
a lot of people I would say they would underestimate the value sometimes of working for an organization for a period of time. I did that with banking. I learned a lot. Just kind of, you're in the frying pan, you might say, you've got to perform and there's a lot of systems. So you merged your passion with your business sense. Yeah. And you ventured out. Was that scary for you as a young couple? I know you have children.
Well, I think sometimes you're too young to be really scared, but yes, it was. It was scary because there was a lot of responsibility because you go from getting a regular paycheck with benefits. Right. And all of a sudden, you don't have any benefits. You have to make the benefits. And, unlike other businesses where you might have a car and fuel, we didn't have any of that. And we didn't get a paycheck unless we performed. And there was a few times where it was a little dicey, but honestly, most of the time we hit the ground running.
Boy, that is so good.
We took that thing from, they were doing about $20,000 to $25,000 a month, which sounds like a lot, but when you got a building and employees and everything else, that's nothing. And we probably, we went to about $200,000 in a year. And the reason is because we bought mailing lists and did marketing and sent, mailings out and let people know that we were there. We had competitors. There's still a lot of dive stores here in Colorado, but we had competitors, but we had customer service. And I'm not kidding you. That was the big difference.
And that's what I was going to ask. Like, if you think about it now, just clarify for me, when you bought it, how much were they doing on an annual basis?
Oh, well, let's see, about $300,000 a year. And,
okay.
Yeah.
And when you sold it, let's just say, what were your revenues?
Oh, when we sold it to our partners, when you take all of the travel and everything else, probably about $4 to $5 million a year.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
So Frank, you're saying that you took it from about $300,000 a year and you grew it to $4 to $5 million. I would say that is definitely scaling up the business.
Well, there were some things that, if we have time, I'll just tell you a little bit about how we did it.
I want to know the secrets to your success
first of
here.
all, people have to become educated. They have to learn to scuba dive before they're worth anything for travel, buying equipment, getting equipment repaired, and that sort of thing. So the original owner, basically, if somebody would call and say, "Hey, do you have any classes?" They'd say, "Yeah, we've got one for Tuesday, Thursday. We don't have enough people in it, but we'll give you a call if we have enough." What we'd committed to do was we'd say, "Okay, yeah, we do have a class. It runs, Tuesday and Thursday nights or Saturday, Sunday or whatever. It's $75 deposit, non-refundable." And the reason we did that was get people to have a heck of a Friday night and they don't show up on Saturday.
Yes.
Yeah. So
we actually have been telling coaching clients to do that too with their various businesses.
That's right. But once we got, our classes filled up almost immediately. Once we started taking deposits, we had them write a course, sign a course agreement. There was some purchase of equipment that was required. They had to have their own mask, fin, snorkel. And so obviously they bought them from us. So that started us off, with equipment sales and with education. And then, of course, as we built the business, people had equipment for a while. They needed to get it repaired. People that couldn't afford equipment, they would rent from us. Wow. And based on that, we started doing a few little trips. A lot of them were like group escorted trips. My wife and I escorted over 100 group trips in our 22 years.
Oh my goodness.
We did our bucket list backwards, but we were really young enough to enjoy it. But we also went into, again, things like Sandals and Apple Vacation and some of those big companies. We did a lot. We had 4 full-time travel agents when we sold the business.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I feel like you just took us through the BMGC in a way. Because what you were identifying is one of the things that I really like is consistency.
Yes.
So even we talk a lot about the value proposition. We go in depth in all of this in the Business Masterclass, which you and I are a part of. Dave's in that.
Yep.
Bill Bruncheck. But the consistency, I really like that. So they were like Tuesdays and Thursdays, but you couldn't really count on it. When you first took over, from what I'm understanding. Yeah. So people were like, well, how do I know? I need to plan. And so I really like how you said, no, that's it. We're going to do Tuesdays and Thursdays.
And if we had 2 people, we ran the class.
Then they can count on you, right?
Yes. And that rarely did we have 2 people. That was the beautiful part about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because the very thing that maybe the previous owner was just trying to avoid, having a small group, the inconsistency of it probably contributed to people.
Well, another thing, he didn't take credit cards.
Oh,
didn't like paying the fees. And it was like, really? We're going to start taking credit cards. And that just almost doubled business right there.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
So value proposition, they could count on you. You said earlier you're focused on customer service.
Trained people. Our crew was all trained. Everybody.
Goodness.
Yes.
So these are secrets to scalability, which is why I'm kind of trying to catch this and even restate it. The other one is on the BMGC is channels.
Yes.
And so payment methods are channels. So you
Yes.
saw an opportunity there. And, it's interesting because everything you're describing was kind of in your hand when you bought the business.
It is. And, believe it or not, although it wasn't anything as sophisticated as the BMGC, my wife and my partner and his wife, we actually did write up a kind of a rough business plan.
Yeah.
And then we shared it with our certifying organization, which was out in California.
Okay.
And they said, okay, we think your numbers you might be a little exaggerating a bit, but we liked the plan. But within a year or so, we hit those numbers.
Wow.
So we actually did have a plan, believe it or not.
That's
Yes.
good. And that's another key to scalability.
Yes.
Because you were able to write it down and just for, financing viability. And we
Yeah.
talk about this a lot in coaching too, is that if you aim at nothing, you will hit it every time.
That's right.
So you guys put it down, even though you didn't have the BMGC that we teach on, but you put it down, a business plan. And isn't it interesting how results sort of can gravitate to that?
It just happened. I've said it before that even with bigger businesses, people spend more time planning a 2-week vacation than they do a business plan that's going to last them hopefully the rest of their lives and allow them to take more vacations.
Wow. And then in that, you uncovered your opportunities, you uncovered the channel,
Yep.
and then you uncovered revenue streams.
Yes.
So you were rattling those off really fast.
Yes.
But I was hearing the classes, you had a deposit,
Yes.
and then they would purchase the equipment from you. If they couldn't afford to purchase the equipment, you would let them rent it.
That's correct.
And then you started bringing in trips.
Yes.
So those were all revenue streams that you really paid attention to. And how did you leverage them? The revenue streams, how did you identify and then actually get them moving to contribute to that growth?
Well, a complete dive store has all those. And again, when we went out to, it was called PADI Headquarters, Professional Association of Dive Instructors. We went out there and we actually, the four of us went around to 5 or 6 different dive stores in California. We flew out and went to some in Florida. Okay. So we had kind of a good idea what that would entail. So those things were in place. But to try and get them working and making sure that, that the cash would flow through and there was a way of collecting the cash and kind of a method to our madness, that all kind of just, I can't say it just happened, but it just kind of happened because there was, like I said, there was a plan.
Yeah. And you studied other businesses that were doing well.
Very much
I think that's a key too.
Yes.
Don't you think so?
Yeah, no. We all looked at other businesses, retail businesses that just sold, called widgets.
Yeah.
And just kind of saw how those guys worked. So, and then, like I said, we tried to emulate that. Not everything we tried. We had a few things that, kind of flopped, but most of what we did, if we planned it out, it worked.
Wow, that is so cool. I really like to get those insights into growth, because when people start a business, and a lot of you listening are entrepreneurs, and one of the challenges or the most common questions that we hear from you is, how do we go from what we would call a mom and pop shop into a business that is scalable, but eventually saleable?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And so, Frank, if you were to look back on your experience, then we'll go into real estate and talk about that too. What were the top things that you could identify that would help us that are trying to scale from entrepreneurship, doing everything from A to Z, to actually being able to build a business that we can sell?
Well, if you're going to, Michael Gerber's The E-Myth is a great book to read, E-Myth Revisited, because he talks about, even if you're going to run a mom and pop business, you really need to, even if you're going to make it a generational thing, you need to prepare it so that it would be ready to sell for top dollar at some point in time. And we always kind of kept that in mind. So, we all decided that, at some point in time, we're going to sell it. Well, our partners, they decided they didn't want out of it, and that's fine. They're doing great now, and we get along fine. But it wasn't for Becky and I. I mean, there was just too many things falling by the wayside. Family, the Lord, and we needed time to do that. Yeah. But it was just a matter of kind of putting things into place and making them the very best they could be.
That's really good.
It's about quality. Yeah. It's about quality people. Mm-hmm. It's about training people. And that's the other problem with businesses. You hire somebody and you don't do a great job of hiring them. And then what you do is you throw them out on the sales floor or wherever. Yeah. And then you get mad at them because they don't perform right. And, of course, and then you wonder why your turnover is so great. Yes. So you have to train people. And if you train people, you're going to find out who is kind of worthy of working there and who isn't. And if they're not, normally they're going to they'll cull themselves. Yeah. You don't have to cull them out. They know. But vetting is important because otherwise you will go through more people than you want to. And you've got to have some sort of stable turnover, or you're always in the process of training and pulling your hair out and everything else. So you got to keep that under wraps and make sure that that's not going to be an issue.
So what are some things in hiring that you could give people some insight into? What are some key things that we should do to ensure that we are doing everything we can to hire the right people?
Well, of course, we used to do 2 interviews. I mean, we would do one, and then obviously not everybody made the cut. Then we'd do a second one. One of the things we did, we were very upfront because we were open 7 days a week. Yeah. And we made sure that people were aware of our hours and were they able to work those. Now, if somebody needed to go to church or something like that, I mean, we were able to accommodate that. But honestly, we were open 7 days a week. And if somebody couldn't do that, that's probably not a good fit for our business.
At some point, it's not going to work for them.
Yeah. The other thing I did was instead of just, we would give them scenarios and see how they would handle those scenarios. And, for example, okay, you're on the sales floor and it's a Saturday. We're really busy. There's 4 people, but we got like 7 or 8 people in the store. Mm-hmm. And you've got, a person that's trying on wetsuits and they're kind of talking to you a little bit. Mm-hmm. And the phone rings. What do you do? Everybody says, well, we've got to answer the phone. It's like, no, the phone has a really great messaging service. And you'll take care of the customers here because they're here.
That is so smart, Frank.
And then the other ones, we're going to get back to them as quickly as we can. But, most of the people that understood our business understood that, we would get back to them right away. But, we would just do scenarios like that and just say, how would you handle that? And some of them, there wasn't a right or wrong. It was just, how are they going to fit in? Yeah. Are they going to be overstressed from when it gets really busy, which I find awesome. The adrenaline on the holidays and stuff. Oh my gosh. When the store is just really piping, I'm telling you, it's an awesome feeling. Wow. But not everybody feels that way.
Yeah, that's really good. I like that idea of the scenarios, and turnover is very expensive. Oh, man. It can, if you have bad attitudes, it can really, cause problems with the people that you do want to keep and the culture. Yes. So I think that's really good advice. I've got a question for you. And I think one of the biggest challenges with businesses is determining cash flow. Mm-hmm. And that cash crunch, causes a lot of businesses to close or really causes entrepreneurs to be stressed. And I know you're really a stickler on accounting. And so I would love to hear just some of what you and Becky have done over the years to really manage and understand your cash flow.
Well, from a business standpoint, I mean, you have to have an accountant that understands your business. You have to have an accounting software that's compatible with what it is you're doing. And there may be other systems. For example, you and I work with contractors and people like that, and they actually have not only like QuickBooks or whatever, but they have, softwares that incorporate all of the, the estimates and everything else in their business. So that would be a good thing to have too. But as far as accountability, you've got to make sure that your books are done. And I know, we were never more than about 30 days behind on our business books.
That's impressive.
Well, yeah, but it's like steering a ship.
Yeah.
Without any sort of direction. What do you do? And if it's 3 months later, you're probably going to become the Titanic if you're in an iceberg field. So, I mean, seriously, people don't take that seriously. And believe me, when you talk accounting, I snooze like everybody else, but it's so important to your business.
Yeah.
It's the lifeblood of your business.
So what would you recommend to somebody that does not like accounting? They're an entrepreneur. Just hire a bookkeeper? Do you think that'd be the way to go?
A bookkeeper that's familiar with your industry. For example, in real estate, we got some of these crazy transactions, creative financing and stuff. You got to have somebody that understands that.
Yeah.
But you also want to make sure you have an accountant because, I don't meet with my accountant all the time, but we do a couple of times a year. I have, my bookkeeper gives me the stuff every month. I look at it. Because of years of looking at books, I can usually pull out stuff pretty quick. And we'll make those corrections in about, next month is June, so we'll probably send it over to the accountant. And then I don't wait till the end of the year. Usually October, we'll send it to the accountant and say, what can we do? And also the accountant can kind of look at our P&L and say, well, this is a great year. Maybe you should spend some money so we can take some tax deductions. You can't do that unless you have current and accurate bookkeeping.
Wow, that's really good, Frank. Let's shift to real estate.
Yeah.
So you got to that point, and we've talked about that just really for family balance, life balance.
Yeah.
You were at the point that it was time to leave the business. And you moved your business principles into real estate.
Correct.
And I think a lot of you that are listening, you're in real estate, maybe you have a couple properties and you'd like to scale up, maybe get into vacation rentals and things. But these same principles that you're talking about, did you apply those in your real estate business?
Absolutely. And in addition to that, we got coaching. And to make kind of, transition that gap. Because it's not always, the same exact thing.
Yeah.
But if you've got business and the principles are the same, but you've got to know how to apply them in real estate versus a retail environment.
Yeah.
And it's totally different. But I mean, it just, you have to stick to them.
Yeah.
It's easy to say, hey, I'm not feeling very good today, so I'm not going to stick to them. And you've got to. But we were able to, customer service, that was big. We always talked to clients and, made them feel special. If we didn't get a listing or a deal or whatever, we would always call the customer back and just say, hey, look, we noticed you didn't go with us, and that's okay. But what is it we could do better next time?
Wow.
And sometimes, it's not easy hearing that stuff.
Yeah.
But if you're smart, you got to hear it.
Yeah, that's
and
really
then
good.
you change the next time.
So I'm going to put you on the spot a bit.
Okay.
So did you, when you went into real estate, did you guys do a business plan like you did with your Scuba?
Yes, we did.
Did.
Yes.
So explain to us a little bit about what does this business plan look like?
Okay, so what you have to do is you have to look at what it's going to cost us to live. Now, we obviously had some money from the sale of our business, but that's not going to last forever.
Right.
And besides that, we wanted to invest some of it. I'll live off of it. Yeah. So we figured out, okay, well, how much do we have to live on, and what do we have to do to get there? How many wholesales do we have to do? How many fix and flips do we have to do?
Right.
And with fix and flips, how many of those do we have to do, and what kind of profit do we have to make to buy a rental? Because that's the ultimate goal, is to buy rentals.
Take that cash that you put for
rentals just keep giving the money. Fix and flips and wholesales, it's Billy says, like the broccoli.
Yeah,
you got to keep replanting it. So
it's broccoli versus an orchard.
Yeah. So that's a principle that I think that we stuck to. And like I said, the customer service, figuring out those numbers. Mm-hmm. It's ironic, though, because our business plan, we had it all planned out. And then we were in the middle of the 2000s, and there was tons of foreclosures. And I had a cousin of mine who's still a partner out in Nevada come to us, and they said, I sold all these people these properties at inflated prices. I didn't know they were inflated. Wow. Because like everybody all over the country, there was no doc loans, and people would buy these properties with no money down. And then all of a sudden, first time the tenants didn't pay or a furnace went out, they didn't have the money to make the payments. And so the whole thing started falling down. Well, he had, and appraisers also were overinflating the property. So he said, can you help me out with, doing some short sales? Well, ironically, Becky and I had just attended a short sale class, foreclosure class by Bill Bronchick. So we said, well, we're going to give this a try. And ironically, we found that we had a skill set we didn't realize we had from years of negotiating with travel vendors and equipment vendors and things like that. And so for about 10 years, we did quite well at that. That was not in the business plan. That was like number 100 on the list of what we wanted to do.
Wow. But the opportunity was there. The market kind of presented itself. Of course, it did. And then, of course, we revised the plan to be able to accommodate that. So. Oh, that's great. Wow. These are all things, Frank, you really live what we teach.
I try.
And with the Wealth Builders Masterclass, the business one,
yes,
that is a really great option for those of you that really want a pretty in-depth look into building your business. We do marketing. We've got the asset protection.
Yes.
We've got the spiritual side of business. Yeah. Did you talk about accounting in that one too?
We did. Bill and I had, kind of like you and I, we have several chats over a number of different things that I thought that went over really well instead of just saying, hey,
do this,
lesson number one, just a chat back and forth. That was really well. That went really well.
Yeah, that was really good. And then Billy has got 2 courses.
Yeah.
So I think it's 8 courses. And then in each course, there's multiple lessons.
Yes.
So it is very thorough. And then we've got PowerPoints in there too that we use.
Yes.
So if you are interested in really getting into business, you want to look at that or look at scaling it. And you can go to wealthbuilders.org/business. And then we do business coaching as well.
Yes, we do.
And that is if you're really serious about, hey, I want to move forward and I maybe don't want to take the slow pace of 3 to 4 years to scale up, then the coaching program is great for you. And wow, we've seen some great results with that, Frank.
Oh my gosh, we have. And we're still in the trenches, you guys.
Yes.
I mean, we're still running businesses. So it's not like we did it years ago and we're resting on our laurels.
Days, right?
And there's a lot of coaches out there that do that.
Yes.
And I mean, it just, if you're going to be successful, you've got to get educated.
Yeah, that's good. And that's what this is all about. And Billy and Becky, they're doing this to help people to make money, to make a difference. Yes. And in that, we have to get knowledge and understanding, and then we can apply the wisdom. But what's different about us, which you all know that are listening and watching, is it's based on kingdom of God principles, biblical principles. And I think that's totally what sets us apart.
Well, I think it's, Billy talks about the fact that he was investing at first for totally the wrong reasons. He had all this excess of cash. He had a few houses and things like that. Yeah. And then God talked to him about the Triple X Factor, which, by the way, is a great course too. If you want to get out of debt. It made sense that you get so many people that they keep earning money, and it's never enough.
Yeah.
So what do you do with that? Well, Kingdom of God is a great place to put that.
It really is. And it ties purpose into it as well.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I mean, how many houses does one need? I mean, how many cars do you need? I mean,
to live not invest in, right?
Yeah, I'm saying, we don't emphasize living like a pauper by any means. Live an abundant life.
Yeah.
But take some of that money and put it towards moving the kingdom forward.
It's so true. It's just there's something about money with purpose.
Yeah.
You know, without purpose, I think it's dangerous. And you're right. Like you can only go on so many vacations. You can only go live in so many houses. You can only redo your living room, you know, so many times. But real joy is in investing in the kingdom and in our families for generations. And the two main revenue streams that we talk about that build that orchard is business and real estate. And we cover both of those.
Yeah, we do.
So that's so great. Frank, you're such an inspiration.
Thanks.
And I think
Back at you.
Oh, thank you. And I just think it's so nice to hear from you a little story, how you and Becky got started, and even how active you are today.
Yeah.
And if there's ever a question that we have, it's like, Frank, we can't stump the guy. I'm just saying.
And I love to share.
everything.
That's the thing. I love to share.
Oh,
So I really do. I mean, it's a gift. I love to share knowledge with people.
Yeah, well, you are a gift. So thank you so much, Frank,
Of
for
course.
your insight.
My pleasure.
Thanks all of you for joining us today for the podcast. Again, if you want to know more about the Business Masterclass, go to wealthbuilders.org/business. And just in general, to keep up with everything that's happening with Wealth Builders, go to wealthbuilders.org. Thank you again, Frank.
Of course, Karen.
Thanks all
Thank
of you, our Wealth Builders family. God bless you and make it a great rest of the day.